Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Lynn, and we're here in my Elven Cave, and I thought it'd be fun to put all the Elven Cave episodes together into a nice full movie for you to be able to just enjoy the process here of this all coming together from nothing. And this is probably my favorite area in my world, if I'm being honest with you. And it was pretty much done within 4 focused episodes. There's a couple spots it veers off just a little bit, but I went ahead and left them in just to keep the continuity, as well as I had to chop in when I brought the villagers in, but for the most part, it should just stay flowing pretty well. So, hope you enjoy. Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Lynn, and today we're going to get a really good start on building an elven themed base, which we're going to use to fill this giant cave we've been exploring the last couple episodes. I'm real excited to get going on that, and just so I'm not stuck down there the whole time, I will come up here and do a little something in this area. I'm really liking the trees we got put in here, and I just want to do a little more to add to the vibe here. But I wanted to start things off in the cave, and anytime I'm getting going on a new big project, one of the first things I like to do is get a path laid out, just because it makes it a lot easier to just kind of visualize things and get an idea for scale and all that. So definitely put in a good amount of work just getting organized around here, and I will say we're going to get a lot done today, but this is definitely the start of what's going to be a very long-term project. I do kind of see this as being an area that I really try to expand on over the years to come. This is going to be one of my main areas. This cave is just really expansive. We'll explore it here in a second. And this will be my first time building in one of these giant caves we got way back in the Caves and Cliffs update. I'm yet to even jump into one of these, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I like the idea of going with the elven theme here, just because I think it's going to be really fun building with all white blocks best I can. I think they'll pop really good in the cave. And yeah, even just getting the path laid out here, you can see that the white blocks and just brighter colors are going to kind of turn the darkness of the cave into a bit of an advantage, just making everything else pop really good against the darkness. But wanted to give you a little reminder of just how cool this whole cave system is here. This area back here is just really cool, especially now that we got it lit up a little better. Gonna have the river running down here through it with some buildings along the side, and just have it connect up to our main area over here. And this cave system is just awesome. Got an awesome deep dark area off to the left, which we'll do something with at some point. And this area right down here is where I plan on kind of being my main base of operations. We'll fill this wall and floor in here and give ourselves some room to work. We'll build our main base right here, just going into the wall, and then gonna have some crop farms going into this wall over here. We'll fill in the hole and make it look a little better. Then up top we'll have a big tree farm. We'll fill in some dirt up here and expand the area to work. And yeah, nice tall ceiling, so there's enough room for trees. And I also had to remind you that just about 100 blocks away, we got this really cool area as well, which is another giant cave. When you walk over to the other side, this is a really big cave itself. Not quite as big as the other one, but it's got this lava floor. This is a real special cave. And in here, I plan on doing a dwarven theme. So I'm just real excited about this whole cave system, and it's going to keep me busy for a while. But yeah, I didn't want to start the episode with a grinding session, but I definitely did some prep before jumping into the project and kind of throwing things kind of out of order here a little bit. But yeah, I did a bunch of gathering to make this work, including a bunch of quartz, and first time shearing up some sheep, just trying to collect all the different kind of white blocks, just so I have some options to work with. And this is actually my first time working with the animals down here at all this whole season, so that's good to finally get established a little bit. And I was also running low on dirt, so I just did a little prepping in the area that I plan on building a little later in the episode, getting a stream ready that we'll fill in here a little later. And I'm going to be building into this wall here eventually, doing something, so I just dug some stone out of there, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, prepare it for later, as well as digging up a bunch of diorite when I was down in the cave. And then I remembered to use snow, which I had a bunch of snow available, and that works out perfect for this build. And lastly, I did a decently long little AFK session because I am going to need a whole bunch of bone meal because I do plan on using a good amount of moss. And since we were up at level 30, I enchanted my chest plate here and got a decent chest plate, so we're working towards getting our armor enchanted, and then I'll start wearing it. Got some trees chopped down. Then for the first time, I'm letting something carry over from Season 1, and that is that I remembered not far from our base that we're all set up at, we had this trowel ruins over here. And I'm not messing with the trowel ruins. I'm actually not even very well prepared for it. I was actually a little scared of the trowel ruins at this time, but I do want the copper. With my theme I got going, I couldn't help but want to build with a bunch of copper, so I just came over here, got a nice safe room, and just cleared out a bunch of the oxidized copper here. And that's a pretty good amount of copper blocks there. That'll go a long way using the stone cutter. But yeah, I was ready to get building our base here. I'm gonna use this area, the main building being right here against this pillar, because that's where we have our ladder going up to the surface level. And snow was the last thing I thought of when it came to using white blocks to build, but it actually looks better than I thought. I was planning on just using it to kind of shape out my builds, but I end up liking just how much it pops, and I think it actually looks pretty good, especially when I start mixing in the quartz. I just use quartz as kind of the outside edge, which will act as a shadow almost. But yeah, just build the buildings up with snow. I will come and texture things a little bit, but I was figuring I was going to need to texture things more, but I end up liking the snow quite a bit. And yeah, we end up going with a similar shape of houses we've built before, a little taller, a little grander. And off to the side, I put more of like a round barn-shaped building, I guess you would say. I think they're going to go well together once we get a roof put on. And then over in the corner here, we'll put a little round tower with kind of a gazebo-style top eventually. But for now, we're just kind of getting the shapes in and getting things laid out so you can kind of see my plan for the area. We'll be coming back and actually putting things together. But yeah, you can see the scale I'm going for. Go ahead and fill this floor in. I go with some deep slate slabs first just so it looks better from underneath, but I do use dirt because I am going to go around with a bunch of moss and just bring some life to the area, and then eventually I'll end up going with like some more fantasy style when it comes to the terrain and landscaping. But for now I'm just going to kind of use moss. And yeah, I fill in the wall behind, and that way we can just kind of build the buildings into the wall. And here I was going to give you a nice little view, and I swear I was crouched. Guess not. That was a bad death. Not only was I just about to have all my diamond armor enchanted, but it spawned me way over by the trowel ruins, which was almost 1,000 blocks away from my base, so I had a long trek to go. And I could have been smarter and grabbed some food from the village before I just started running, but I didn't realize it was as far away as it really was, so I barely made it home. Then I get shot by a skeleton after already being attacked, and I'm down to 0 hearts, which I've seen happen a couple times now. I don't know if that's something that happened in a new update, but it's happened to me a few times now. But we barely made it back, couldn't get much closer than that. 0 hearts and not healing because we had no food. So that was a close call. But went ahead and slept the night away. Go ahead and make our way back to the cave and pick up our stuff, and then I was ready to just jump back into work, and decided to get going on the terraces here for some little crop fields just coming off this wall here, and I think it ends up looking really cool. Trying to have all the platforms at different levels and getting 6 platforms made for the 6 main crops. Then I went and filled in the hole behind and just did a little terraforming, make it look a little nicer. Slowly but surely, things are starting to come together down here, and I'm really liking this idea for the little terraces for the crops. And they don't need to be huge fields by any means. Obviously, I've got crop fields everywhere, but I'm just trying to have access to everything down here in the cave. And yeah, my plan is to have a big waterfall coming from the top and just having different ponds where the water ponds up and spills over into different waterfalls, working all the way down to the bottom level down there. And this is going to be a big pond, so I need to fill it in. So I used some deep slate slabs and stone slabs just to save on resources a little bit, even though I regretted that when I was filling it up with water later, but it wasn't too big a deal. And yeah, we're gonna work our way up here. We'll have a waterfall coming down here, going off both sides here. And up here will be another area that I need to fill in to have a little pond. And this is gonna be our tree farm area. We'll extend it out a little bit and just have all the different tree types up here. They'll all be able to grow with a nice tall ceiling. And we'll have the pond here with the water dropping over and working all the way down to the bottom floor. And I got sidetracked here and decided to get rid of a bunch of the skulk down here. I figured for the main area I'll get rid of the skulk. I was using my sword and my shovel, getting some with the silk touch. But then I tested my efficiency 4 mending hoe. And I quickly realized this is one of the more satisfying things in Minecraft here. You get tons of XP, it just goes through it insta-mine. You can see I got up to level 36 really fast. I obviously mined a good amount of skulk here, but definitely a good way to get XP, and it looks better down here without the skulk. Then I got back on track working on my waterfall situation up here, and it was actually a really fun little project, just figuring out where to have the water pool up and just pathing out where it all went. Definitely a bit of a grind getting this all together, but well worth it. Like I said, using the slabs was a mistake though, because filling the water ended up being a little annoying in some cases, but we did get it all pathed out, and now we got a nice waterfall going through our crop fields there, hydrating the fields. We'll need to add a little more later, but definitely looking cool. And it just looks so much better down here not having the skulk, so much brighter, and I'm really looking forward to naturefying that area as well and just doing all kinds of things, just opening up our options. But I figured, given my history, I better get to enchanting while I'm this high. So I got myself a new Fortune 3 pickaxe, a much better one than the one I had. Feather falling on my boots, didn't get anything else unfortunately. Got another decent shovel, my other one was getting pretty low, and then I went out and had to get a bunch of coal to get a few extra levels, and I needed the coal. And I got my diamond helmet enchanted, so now we got all our diamond armor enchanted, so I'm finally wearing it after all this time. I think that's about 2 months into this season, and I'm putting diamond armor on for the first time. Shows you how I play. And yeah, while we're up here, I thought I'd work on this little project in the area down here. I thought it'd be fun to build a little campsite type thing, even though we got the tree houses right there for someone to stay at. I think a big fireplace just kind of as a centerpiece would be a really cool idea, and I ended up just putting a little campsite around it, and I think it ends up looking really cool. I'm just gonna let it play out here for a second. This was a really fun little side project, and it's a perfect example of just even though there's really no point to this area, but just put in little effort, and now it's an area that I'm going to be walking by all the time, and it just looks a lot better than just leaving it vanilla there. I really like the little tent I got here. And as always, getting the moss spread around the water just looks really good. I just really like how this little area came together here. But then it was time for my last big building push of the episode and really start to bring the area to life. I am going pretty big with this build, as you can see. Kind of, rather than building one building at a time, I'm going kind of a bunch of different projects all at the same time, so that does result in the details coming together a little slower, but I figure we'll get a good layout today at least, and next episode I'll probably make a good progress on the details. But yeah, we'll get through the hard stuff, like getting the roof in is always one of the main resource takers, and getting this roof even organized, kind of going with the gazebo style. I think that's just kind of represents the Elven theme a little bit. And I tried to make the buildings a little different than other ones I've built by giving them these nice big entrances. Just differentiates them from other houses of similar shapes I've built. And as I keep building down here, I do want to have a much more open builds as I go. I think that's just kind of what I think of when I think of an Elven theme. And yeah, like I said, I am just going to spread a bunch of moss around for now. It just really does bring some life to the cave. In the future, I do plan on going with some more fantasy elements, whether it be like just oversized flowers or some kind of alien plant of some kind. But for now, the moss really does bring it to life a little bit, and getting these trees planted and really coming together. Then I went around with some deep slate to blend the crop platforms into the wall a little better here, as well as put the diorite borders on the field, which I think looks really good. And then went around and got them all hydrated and tilled up and planted, and once the crops grow here, they're going to look really cool. Then I went around and with some warped fence along the path border there, and I think it looks really good just with the color we got going on in the cave here, especially with the skulk, but even though that'll be disappearing over time. Then I got filling in the area and extended the tree farm up here a little bit, and planted moss, went crazy all over the place up here. Then I got planting all the different tree types. So now in the cave we got all the crops and all the tree types growing, so we're going to be pretty self-sustainable down here at this point, which was the whole goal. And yeah, got this tree farm looking really cool up here. I'm really liking bringing the life down into the cave. And here's just another example of how crazy this cave system is, as I just found this area, which is another huge cave. And it just connects right up to the main area, essentially, if I dig through the wall there just a little bit. So this is definitely a cave system that can keep me busy for as long as I want it to. But yeah, I really like the tree farm up here. Obviously, we'll really make it look cool when we come and give it a path and just do some decorating and stuff. But just having all the different tree types is going to be nice. Make it so I can stay down here for a while. Especially when the trees grow in, it's going to look cool. And the view from up here is really cool. Now, as we got the roofs put in and our buildings are looking pretty good down there. And imagine when we start getting more and more buildings spread around here all over the place. This place just has so much potential. I'm just so excited to get going here. Probably as excited as I've been jumping into a project, at least in a very long time. And yeah, our little waterfall system down here came together real nicely. Got our different pools with just the waterfall dropping down and making its way all the way down to the bottom floor. We'll extend that in a different direction. And yeah, this is the coolest little waterfall system I've ever had. And getting just the moss spread in, as always, just a simple addition, but it just really looks good. And I like how we got it dropping down and acting as the hydration for the crop fields here. I think it looks really good, and I think the diorite just really pops on the crop fields. And now that the crops are growing in and we got our buildings just put together, I'm just couldn't be more excited about this whole area. And again, even though we did get a whole lot done this episode, this is all going to be getting upgraded over time, so it's going to be really fun watching it come together. Next episode, I plan on coming and working on the area down here and just kind of detailing everything we've built already. Obviously, we don't have any interior or anything. I'm far from interior here, and we got to get our elevator up to the top level there built. But I'm pretty happy with the progress we got today. I just wanted to get this episode out. I'm trying to be closer to an episode a week, and this just ended up taking a lot of time here. So figured I'd go ahead and call it at this point. Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and today we're just going to make a whole bunch of progress in this cave that we started in the last episode here. Pretty much just picking up where we left off. I'll be doing some little details on some of the things we built last time, and I'm going to have a big focus on getting this ground level situated down here. I did spend some time between episodes kind of planning out a little waterfall system, river system down there that we'll be jumping in here in just a second. And I also did a little clearing out of the building here so I can get going on an interior, which I will be doing here this episode. But my main mission is to really get this ground level going here a little bit. And like I said, between episodes, I got a cool little river system planned out, just extending the system we got going above here. And I know I've said it many times, I love me a good water system, and I love filling up the water. Is one of the more satisfying things in the game, and I think this really brought the area together down here, and I enjoyed putting it together here. I really like having the water drop slowly and pool up at the different levels. Unfortunately, I had quite a few video clips not want to upload this episode, so there's a few areas that kind of miss a few things, and this was one of the main ones where I went around and filled this whole area up with some moss, and it really made a difference. Especially with the river here, I really like how we got things mapped out. And then I got going on the big project of getting a path established, which I know I did a good amount of in the last episode as well, but working in a cave, especially when you're just kind of building the path along the wall there, it ends up being such an important part of the structure, even more than usual. And yeah, just every little bit of path I add just really brings the area together, and I think it ends up looking really cool. I do end up going with the white theme. I was thinking of maybe changing the colors of this area a little bit down here, but I figured for this whole main cave area, I'm just going to stick with the color scheme I got going, and I think it ends up looking really cool. And we'll get some buildings kind of built into the walls back here, but that'll be something we'll do a little later. It looks really good from up here as well. I'm going to put another portal in the wall right here, and at this point I actually decided I kind of wanted to see where we spawned in, so I went down and just put a temporary portal in for the moment. Then when I jumped in, I realized that it brought us all the way to the portal of our treehouse area, so I didn't want that to happen. Jumped back in to see where it brought us out, and yeah, it brought us out at the treehouse area, so that would be nice if I was looking for a real quick one-way trip to the treehouse area, but I'm trying to have its own portal. So I jumped back in and went to the coordinates of my cave portal and divided it by 8 to match it up in the nether, and just created my own portal in the nether and jumped in, hoping it would bring me back into the cave, which it did. And that's really cool, being able to go back and forth so quick, and jump back in hoping it pops us back in our new portal in the nether, and then we'll be all linked up and good to go, which it did. But the main reason I was going to the nether was because I needed a few materials, one of the main ones being warped wood, because I'm definitely going with that as part of this color scheme. And I needed a whole bunch of quartz, so I got a bunch of that as well. And then I was going to bring another thing over from Season 1, which I've been trying to not do. And speaking of Season 1, we came across our spawn portal up here, which it's really tempting to jump in there. I haven't been to spawn since I was last there with you guys. And I realize I haven't shown you the day count in a while here, and we are at day 2239, so we've essentially been here 340 days, so I got 160 days left before I can think about going back to spawn. But what I'm going to go ahead and bring over from Season 1 is I'm going to go ahead and just use the same nether fortress. I didn't feel like hunting down a nether fortress, and I just wanted a little bit of blaze powder so that I can cure a villager if I need to. And then when I was running to jump back in the portal, I got really lucky here because I didn't realize my gold helmet broke, and if there would have been more piglins around, that would have been real bad. But got pretty lucky there, and then I was ready to get back to work, and I actually ended up putting up the walls and finishing the roof on the buildings up there before I got going on the interior. But then I realized I was going to need some materials, and also I was at level 35, so I wanted to go ahead and use a few levels before I end up dying and losing them all like I've done a few times already. So got a fortune axe. I like to have a fortune axe, and then I got efficiency on a book to combine with pickaxe, so I can have efficiency 5, and combined a couple things up. And then while I was over, I went to my tree chopping area and chopped a good amount of wood. Never enough. I do have a few wood trips that I don't show you, but the main reason I was out here was to get some kelp, because I'm going to be building an elevator, and I need to use some kelp to make the water blocks full source blocks. And I was also going to need a whole bunch of snow, so I made a trip up into the mountains here. And right at sunrise, I came over the crest of this hill and had a really cool view here that I haven't seen yet. Really cool angle of the mountain here, nice steep peak. I was kind of liking this area, so I figured if I'm going to be clearing some snow anyway, I'd go ahead and kind of work towards getting a path cleared out if I ever want to come up here and build, because this is a pretty cool little hilltop here. Yeah, now if I do come up here and want to build sometime, I got a cool little path with a great view of the mountain out here. Then we hop back down, and like I said, we got the walls put up and finished the roof here, so now we're ready to jump into getting this interior going. Over here is where our elevator is going to be. And then back against this wall, I ended up adding a whole bunch to my project here and ended up extending the building back here quite a bit, and decided to have a little bit of a central storage area, which I haven't even built in this world at all yet, really, for the most part. And so we just got extending back, and we can always extend it more if we need to over time. But I think this ends up being plenty of room to have some chests and get a good bulk of things stored. Nothing too fancy, but like I said, we can keep extending if we need to, and I think it looks pretty nice. I'm really liking the white theme with the quartz, and I just kept at it. Got some floors put in. I replaced the wood floor in here. I thought it looked better with the stone combo, and we did get our elevator built. This is another point where I lost a good amount of the clips, so we will be revisiting that here in a second though anyway. And yeah, like I said, I just really like the structure that these quartz arches are creating, and I just kept going with that theme. And then I want this building to just be a nice, efficient building, so I put all the useful crafting blocks right in the middle here, so this will just be a nice place to go when I need to get organized. I poked a window in the wall here and used a little change up of color. And speaking of color, got a few paintings going around. I still had my whole living area to get built up here. Got a nice big bed, even though I'll never use it, living in the cave down here. And pretty much extended the storage into this area as well, and this will kind of be where I dump things off, and as these chests fill up, I'll move stuff from them over into the bigger storage area. So this will be the one-stop shop. And on a whim, I decided to put a little fish tank into this wall here. I did this once before in one of my really old worlds, and it was really cool, and it's got me excited to do a bigger one. I just don't have I need to get it to a coral reef, and get the tropical fish to really be inspired to make a nice big one. But this works for now and fills the wall here with something a little more unique than just another painting or anything like that. I think it looks really cool, even with the salmon and the cod and just the normal seagrass. And we got our little living area looking really cool here. And like I said, nice efficient base of operations to just come and get organized on things. And I think the storage area back here actually looks real nice. But we did get our elevator installed here, and yeah, like I said, unfortunately the clip of me putting in the soul sand here and the kelp just didn't want to upload for whatever reason. But we did make the project and got a nice tall water elevator all the way up to the surface level up here. We'll put a cool building here at some point and move on from there. But I thought it'd be cool for the drop down here if I replaced some of the stones with some glass so that I could actually kind of see my big cave as I fall into the base down here. And so I got replacing some of the deep slate up here with some light blue glass, and this actually ended up being one of the coolest accidental discoveries I've had in Minecraft. Just that one single block open to the sky at the top of the pillar there brings in either daylight or the night light from nighttime and just makes a really cool pillar over here, just that super bright blue, and it just looks awesome. And it's a way to see the daylight in your cave, because do a little magic trick and wait until nighttime here and you'll see it's dark at nighttime. So that's just a really cool way to get a difference in the daylight and nighttime in the cave, because if you don't have that, you never know if it's night or day up there. So I imagine I'll be wanting to add a couple more of those. Yeah, I thought I'd take you for the drop. It goes by really fast, but I think was worth it. And at this point, I just wanted to start going around and doing some random details on some of the stuff we've built so far. We have the gazebo over here, and I just don't quite know how I want to go about that yet. I will do something there, but put it on the back burner for now. Go ahead and start by just finishing my warped wood fence along the path here, which did end up being quite a bit of warped wood I needed, which I hate gathering in the nether, but unfortunately I've taken on that battle, since I am going to need a good amount of warped wood just building this whole cave up. And then I got going on some street lights, and rather than just going normal street lights, I went with these little arches here, just because when I think of an elven theme, which is what I'm trying to go with here, I think of arches like this. I'm kind of being inspired by Skyrim, without even going and looking at it or anything. It's just kind of what I remember, arches like this for the elven ruins. And at the intersections, I kind of combined four together, and I can come back and put some of the oxidized copper roofs on or something at any time and make it even more structurally sound, but I think they end up looking pretty cool as is. And yeah, I just went around and placed a few arches and really start to bring the elven theme to the base more and more all the time. Definitely look a lot cooler than just random street lights. But a good detail session I got going on here was working on these terraces. Just wanted to make them look a little more natural and cooler, so I brought in some greenery, and just bringing in the brighter stone really makes a difference. So I brought in some of the mossy stone and some moss just to add a little color around here, and then I went around and with some deep slate stairs and just shaped up the stone that's holding up the terraces a little bit, and it really made a difference. Not only the slight change in color, a little darker, but just making the shape a lot better. And then, as always, just adding that greenery for the final touch really made a difference and brought it together. And I think this is a really cool area at this point. But another project I wanted to do was get a path going all the way up to my tree farm area up there. So I thought this area looked like a good spot that I could just start extending a path winding up the hill here. Took a good amount of digging and mapping out and getting it all planned out, but yeah, we'll just have it come from up here and drop down here, and then stairs all the way down, and once you get it mapped out, you just get to work placing the blocks. Went around with my border as always, and then I ended up extending that along the tree farm up here, which I wasn't planning on doing at first, but I figure I've gone this far with it, might as well just make it all fit together, and I'm definitely glad I did. It looks really nice. And I put a little path going through my tree farm up here, and I cleared out a bunch of the moss carpet because it was stopping trees from growing, so that was a little bit of a project, but yeah, I got our path put in, and eventually we'll have it extend out here with a bridge across, and then have it work its way up to exit to the surface, and maybe even extend it to be a upper level, build it into this wall over here. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but yeah, we got the tree farm looking pretty cool up here, and I actually decided that I'm going to go big with my tree farm and extend it all the way back into this giant cave that we found in the last episode. I figure I've got so many cool cave areas like this. Like, this is a really awesome cave area that I would have never thought of wanting to just fill with a tree farm, but I've got so much to work with in this cave system here that I think I could do something really cool, turning that into just a nice foresty area with a few buildings, of course. But yeah, got our path put in here, winding down the mountain, and like I said, the path just ends up being such a big part of the structure of the cave itself. When you're just building along the walls like that, the paths are just super important all the time, but in the cave even more than usual. And yeah, put little extensions onto the farm terraces, make them easier to reach. And we got things just looking really good. Got to look at this area again. I think this just came out so nice. And we got our waterfall poked through so that it's dropping down to the bottom level at this point. And yeah, that was a nice little detail session there. Just always go back to your old projects and just do little bits at a time. And something I've been wanting to do was just knock this door out. And I've been procrastinating, but I go ahead and do it here. And I'm just going to go doorless. And I end up going with that theme around this whole area. I think it's just cool. It's a lot more interesting to see the interior there than just a birch door. So I ended up liking how that was and ended up carrying that with me down to this level, which is where we're going to start putting some buildings into these walls here. Finally get going on this level down here, and I'm just going to step out of the way for a second and let you watch it develop a bit. and I really like what we got going down here. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing the interior today. I'll be going over my plans for down here in just a second a little bit, but while I'm in such a good build mode, I went ahead and put a couple big arches in the middle here, just kind of as a centerpiece for the area and to give a little height down here. Now this is probably something that I'll end up switching out in the future, just because this little area in the center here really is calling for a cool centerpiece. So I'll probably do something cooler here, either a statue or some kind of fantasy tree or something of the sort. But for now, I think the arches go with the theme really well and look really good. I finally took all the skulk away from this pillar, which I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I think it looks better. Then I went around and planted a few cherry trees just because I thought the pink would look really good, and I definitely was glad I brought the pink down here, and I ended up going a little crazy with it actually and just spreading it all over the place, and I think it's a really good contrast to the colors we got going on so far. And I put a good amount of pink bushes, but I think it really brings the area together. I couldn't be happier with how this area is looking so far. I'm honestly pretty proud of myself, I gotta say. I've just really had good focus over these last couple weeks, and we've built a lot over the last 2 episodes here. And I'm just really liking everything about it. And my plans for down here is have the 2 outside buildings be homes for some stonemasons, and then the center building I'm going to have a smelter in and just a general stone shop. But this is going to kind of be my stonemason area so that I can get a bunch of quartz, because quartz is something I'm not having near enough of, and I really don't like going in the nether looking for it. It's pretty tedious and takes a long time. And yeah, I'm just really happy with how the area's come together down here. The pink really makes a big difference, and I can't say enough, the arches in the middle, I really starting to bring that elven idea that I'm going for. But I thought it'd be fun to hop into creative mode here. So I am in a creative copy of the world right here, and I'm not trying to keep any secrets from you. I do this quite often, hop into creative mode and just step back and visualize things a little bit, and it's just such a cool view. I figured no reason to keep it away from you guys. And it'd be a good way just to really give you a good perspective of the whole area here. So yeah, you can just see how much work we've done. 2 episodes I'm very happy with, and just how cool this good view of the waterfall system we got going up here into our crop farm and our tree farm up here. And do a little fly around just to really give you an idea. I know I've done a tour of the cave system a couple times, but this will really show you just how close everything is. You got this huge cave back here, which I'm really looking forward to a tree farm project back there. And obviously the big main area, which will be just filling up these walls and this whole level up here. There's our new stairway, which really looks cool over there, winding up the mountain. And goes all the way back here, which I'll extend probably the same theme I'm building with right now, kind of back into this area here. But one area that I don't think I've really shown you at all yet is this deep dark area that we got down here that is also just really cool, and I'm looking forward to doing something in here and really embracing the darkness and I think some bright colors popping off it. There's definitely some potential to do something cool. And lastly, just to show you how close things are, just come back here a little bit. We'll get a path extended here, and right through this little hole in the wall is where we're going to have our big dwarven area, which is probably what I'm looking forward to the most. I've kind of been going through in my head with ideas, and I feel like I've got a pretty good visualization of what I want to do down here, and this is definitely a very cool area. I'll need to get it all lit up for you to actually see it, but yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and I'm glad to be back here in my Let's Play world. After the last while of trying out hardcore mode for my first time ever, it feels like coming home to come back to the Let's Play world here, so I'm glad to spend a little while beefing things up here, you'd say. And today we're going to work in my Elven Cave and get going on this wall back here. I've been waiting to get filling this wall up, and we're going to go from down to up and get a little sky up top, I'm thinking. Lots of work in my head to do today, so I'm really looking forward to getting things going. And although I've been playing hardcore mode as far as the episodes I've been putting out, I have hopped in here a couple times prepping for today, so I'm coming in pretty well prepared with some resources piled up that should get me a really good start going here. So I'm hoping for this episode to be very build heavy, just a nice satisfying montage of watching this whole place come together, and go at a fast enough pace to not be boring, but slow enough pace so that you can really see the process here. So I think it's going to be really fun to just watch this really grow, and I will say I plan on doing a lot. I'm going to start by getting a path going, so I'm going to extend the path from up here at the top of these stairs and just start making my way. Start by just sketching out my route here, working my way around this pillar that we got up here to get myself up to the next level. Kind of go a one wide road until I know I like the direction and the different angles that it creates, because I'm planning on the builds being up here, so as I'm building the road, I'm planning on the angles kind of going with the building, so I'm thinking of that as I'm building here. And obviously having to clear a bunch out as I work my way up, and come all the way up to where I'll have a bridge going across to my tree farm area, so my whole path will now be a loop. And this looks really cool from up here. This whole nother perspective from the cave. I remember turning around here and being real excited for this whole plan, looking even cooler than I might have thought. And just building the path at the angles really makes it look better, I think. So yeah, I'm really liking the location and the direction of the path, so I committed to the 3 wide like I do. That's at least what we're going with in the cave here. Pretty big process with a big path like this though, and I am making it all match. That is one thing I'm really focusing on with this project, is keeping the same theme all the way throughout, so that in the end it really feels like one big singular project rather than just a lot of projects coming together, which I like as well, but for this project I'm just trying something different. Yeah, once I got the path put in, I really did a bunch of work clearing some rock out so that there'll be some space for buildings, and I'm liking how the path looks up there. It might need a little bit of terraforming, but I think the oak poking through looks pretty cool actually. I was ready to get some buildings going, and gonna start with the ones that I've kind of had planned out this whole time anyway. And lots of work making this happen. All these buildings I had to dig out a good amount of stone, and obviously I had a lot of snow prepared because I planned on getting quite a few buildings up here today. And I'm going with the similar thing that I've built with, like I said, kind of having things match. So a few of the houses are just going to be this basic shape like my starter base, different sizes, different heights, but same thing. But I do want to get a few angled buildings hiding in there, and I plan on the biggest building of them all being right here. I figured it'd be a cool spot for it, right next to the nether portal. And I plan on doing something cool with this cave that has this river coming through it already. I naturally made it have a waterfall that goes down to our bottom level here, so I want to keep that. So I'm going to have a cool river coming through here, but I think it'll be cool having an angled building off to the side right here. It is going to be a lot of work digging out all the deep slate behind the buildings. I won't be doing that all today. Luckily, I do have a beacon. I just need to get enough iron or emeralds to have a full one. So I'm chipping away at that, and I'll wait to really do a bunch of digging until I have that. But yeah, I've said it before. I highly recommend sneaking some angled builds into your world if you don't already, because they just do so much to add a little shape and just make things a little less blocky. Yeah, I plan on this being the biggest building of them all. Might end up being my true base down here, I'm thinking. But I want it to have a nice flat road entrance, so I had to do some serious remodeling here to make it work. And this is an example of just don't be afraid to knock something down if it doesn't work anymore. Even though I liked what I had there, this just makes more sense, and rather than trying to build around what I had, go ahead and just do what works a little better. But it was a bit of a project here, but I think it looks really cool. I like the way this road creeps up the side now. Just a little bit of terraforming to make it fit a little better. But I really like how this came out, even though it does make for a little more of a roundabout way to get up to the top there, but I think it does look better. And now we got our nice flat road to build on here, so to have a build up here just will make more sense and easier to enter. So we're going big with this one. And I was really liking how this was looking here. I really like how that fits in right next to the portal, and just getting these few buildings added really adds so much to this wall. I was getting real excited because I knew I had a lot more to add to it, and really feeling like it's going to be a noticeable progress episode, to say the least. And yeah, plan down here to have a nice round building with get a dome on top. But I've visualized this building for a long time here. And yeah, like I said, just one building at a time. I'm really feeling like this project is turning into something special. The Elven Cave as a whole. Because now we go upstairs and start making the best of this area here. Getting some different angles up here, which is always nice, and get kind of a funky building up here at the top. See if I can put it together in the end when it comes to putting the roof together. But yeah, when I stepped up here and looked down, again, I'm just so excited about this area. And I felt like I was just in a building groove at this point and really getting some fast progress. So I just kept my head down and kept at work. Starting with getting the trims around the buildings, which I'm using the diorite for, just like I have for my other buildings. And some of the roofs were more complicated than others. The dome came together pretty nice down here, I think. But yeah, some of the weird angled buildings were a little different, especially the top one. But I do think just getting these trims put on, big addition. Just getting the depth and some shadows and more shape, getting the stairs in. One step at a time, but I'm just really liking the progress we're getting. Building in this assembly line that I've kind of got going with all these buildings. The walk along this path up here is really cool. Looking really cool from down here as well. I do wish you could see the buildings over the path a little better than that, but it's alright. I think getting these buildings added in, just really expanding the area here. This has to be one of the more efficient, productive episodes I've done. Not that I haven't spent a lot of time, but for the time I've spent, I've gotten a lot put in here, and I plan on a lot more. Starting with getting these roofs in, just getting the little pop of color is going to be a really cool addition. And luckily, I came in well prepared with materials, so it's just a matter of getting the blocks placed. And like I said earlier, I'm going to be building these into the walls behind them, so I'll kind of create a wall behind this one. Most of them have the wall already there, but yeah, it just makes it so I don't have to make the whole roof right now. When I make the interiors, I'll end up having to do something about it, but yeah, figuring out these angled roofs sometimes takes a little practice, and for whatever reason, these ones were just giving me trouble. I don't know if I messed up somewhere, but I just went until I thought it looked cool. Work your way up slowly but surely. And I will reiterate how nice it is not having to do the entire roof for this biggest building, for example, and just all the buildings for that matter. That's really why this cave is actually coming together fairly fast compared to a lot of other builds, is just because when you don't have to do the roofs, it just saves so much on resources and time. Yeah, I think these buildings along this walkway here are looking really good. And I got putting the dome in here. And again, this one, I had to chop a few things down here and there, rearrange some things, but in the end, I think it's looking pretty decent. as we move along here, each building might get some changes here and there. Yeah, then I went up top and did the same thing. Figuring this building at the top out was the hardest of them all, but it ended up coming together all right. Just having to have the roofs come together at weird angles, but it ends up looking good. And yeah, I think just the pops of teal's just another addition that's really starting to bring the area together. And yeah, looking down here, I'm really just getting a feel for how big this project is turning out to be. And I really like having this new perspective from up here. I think it just looks really cool. But of course, I'll be giving you the view from down here as we go, just so you can see it all come together. And yeah, just getting the little pops of color added in. Another big addition. But now I'm ready for a really big addition. For those who've seen my episode with the tree farm, I'm going to go with one of those skies, and we're going big with it here. So I go up top and climb up one of these trees, just get nice and high, and yeah, then I got this view and I was thinking, man, this is such a big area down here turning into. I'm impressed with myself, pat myself on the back. Sometimes you got to do that. But my job up here is figuring out the level that I want the sky to be, and I want it to be above the trees. So I pillar up a little bit, and let me just say, this ends up being a very big project. But once I got to the level I wanted, start placing the blue glass. And I'm gonna take you along with me here a certain amount, just so you can really get a appreciation for the work put in here, because a lot of times that's what makes a project cool, is knowing the work put into it. So I got the perimeter laid out, and at this point was realizing the work ahead of me here. Filling this is going to take a lot of glass. At this point I had already used over 10 stacks. So if that gives you an idea of how much we're going to need. We had this full choker full of sand and glass, and had a little glass in here. I got a good amount of glass cooking down below me, but this is going to be a recurring theme of needing some more glass. But I did come down and craft what I had available into some blue glass, and yeah, give you a peek from down here so you can kind of see. I know it's not showing up too well on YouTube, but you can at least see the perimeter I got going up there and how cool it's going to look once we get that filled in with a blue sky that turns night and day with the natural daylight coming through. Just like that pillar there, it's going to be a awesome addition to the area. So I just put my head down and got back to work. And it turns out that walking around up here is actually really cool. I could end up building a above the sky world up here at some point. And looking down from directly above here, I'm just really liking things, and just keep flying down and taking glass as it cooks, but I'm going through it quicker than I can. But there was some hiding in this chest, so that was a pleasant surprise. Still not going to be enough, but you can see the sky poking through up there. Again, it'll look a lot cooler when I get the natural light coming through, not the torch light, but you can get a visualization for what it's going to look like. Lots of work, though. Three of the 4 sections done at this point that I had mapped out up here, but I really wish I had been keeping track of how much glass I was using, because I'm pretty sure once I got through this last little bit that it was well over a double chest, if not closer to a double chest and a half. So I needed to go get a bunch more glass, so I had to take a trip to the overworld here. While I was up here, I thought I'd turn the day counter on. I like to kind of flip it on and off so you're not always being reminded of how long I've been here. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I started this episode around day 2640, give or take. I don't remember exactly, but did feel good to get out of the cave for a little bit. And like I said, our main mission is getting some sand here, and I've got a couple little islands of sand right off my treehouse area up here that I've been using for sand. I I was debating flying all the way out to the desert just because I don't want to completely deplete these, but then I decided, nope, I'm just going to deplete these. I also stopped and gathered a few cornflowers because I've been using lapis for my blue dye up to this point, for all this blue dye. It ended up being a lot more than I was intending, so don't want to waste all my lapis, but yeah, I got a bunch of sand cooking here. I'm hoping this will be enough for what I want to do up here. And we got this area filled in. Again, this view from above I think is just one of my favorite things. And I do, at this point, I wasn't planning on expanding over the tree forest here completely, but I will. I'm just really realizing how much glass all this takes, so we'll get back to that here in a bit, but you can see just how cool the sky is going to look up here. The way it's embedded into the ceiling, I think it just looks awesome, especially when we extend it over the trees there. But yeah, get away from that for a second and just get back to the assembly line of putting some more into these buildings. Again, just going with the same concept that I have with the other buildings around here, with the quartz and the diorites as the trims. And I know it's kind of weird doing the different shades of white just all together. Not very contrasty trims, but I think it's actually turning out really cool. Just something a little different, but I think it looks really good. I've tried that in a couple other places, actually. It's actually turning into something I'd like to do. Again, the angled buildings here can end up kind of funky, but especially with the door here. And I am going with the open door theme. So like my main base up there, I'm not putting actual doors in here. I'm just leaving it open. And I think that's something kind of cool and kind of different. This could be prettier from up close, but I'm not going to judge until we're done. Especially all these will look a lot cooler when we get the actual interior built. The rock being behind kind of takes away from them, but that's not something I'm going into today. Yeah, just kept going around and using my quartz, but I was going through it pretty quick and I knew I was going to need some more, so I flew back to my main area and did a little trading also to mend up my silk touch shovel, but bought enough quartz to get me through the rest of the project here. Again, stonemasons are probably my favorite villager at this point. Now with this building, I'm realizing just this moment that I kind of messed up on the roof. It should be going at a weird angle as well, but I figure it really didn't look that bad, and the way it's going into the wall, I'm going to go ahead and leave it for now. I can always change it if it bothers me. But yeah, again, it ends up kind of funky with being at the weird angle, but it looks good from a distance. That is the one thing, sometimes close up the angled buildings are tough. And I filled all the glass with some blue glass just because that's kind of my theme around here. Then I went around bone milling some moss, and while I was down here I ended up fixing up this stream and making it look a lot cooler. But yeah, just spreading the moss around definitely is just, rather than having the completely dark cave, slowly but surely I'll be getting some life around here. And then lighting up the path up here really made a difference, making it so that the border actually pops up here from down here. It really makes it stand out a little better. And yeah, you can really see things coming together here. Like I said, once we get the interiors in, they're going to look a lot cooler, but I know I keep repeating myself. I just couldn't be happier with how this cave is coming along here. But I was ready to get back to work on the sky here. And I didn't want to do it because I'm trying to let some resources start to pile up in some of my chests, but I do have this chest full of sand over at my main area, and I figured what better time than now to put that to some use, since sand is the bottleneck on this sky build here. So went and transferred a bunch over to this area and got it all cooking up. Had to get a bunch of flowers as well just to help me with some blue dye. But got a whole bunch of glass made, and I was ready to get back to work and extend this over the entire tree farm here. So once again, really going through some serious glass. And I'm trying to have it all connect with the ceiling in a cool, smooth way, so I'm kind of working along the ceiling, as you can see. and then I'll use stone to bring it down. I also just built around this tree here, and I just won't chop that tree, let it poke into the sky a little bit. I think it'd be kind of cool. And we got it all filled in, and then it was time to get going on the clouds, which is when the sky really starts to come together here. And I think it looks best when I actually embed it in the glass rather than put it underneath or on top. I just like the way the lines connect. I think makes a difference. So the majority of them I had to chop out some glass to make it work, but well worth it, but big project. I do add a few on top just to add a little depth, and I think it does end up looking cool. Yeah, you can see how cool this sky is looking from up here. I've mentioned before, it'd be cool to come up here and build a above the sky area sometime. But yeah, got connecting the sky to the walls and the ceiling surrounding, and it does just really make a difference having it embedded in everything so nicely. I think it's a good little detail rather than just having the sky floating. And yeah, you can see how cool it's looking from down here. The clouds make such a difference. But the crazy part is the coolest part hasn't even happened yet, because I need to bring in the natural light. So I dug up a hole, so we just have one hole poking through, and put a ladder up so I can go up and down, and then I just kept going up and down and dropping in. Just 1 square wide blocks of natural light spread all around the sky up here will make it so that it lights up during the day and dark at night. You can see the natural light coming in the cave here already. So get rid of all the torches here, and you can see how dark it is up here. Obviously it's nighttime outside, so it's nighttime up here right now. We'll fly down and look up, and you might not even be able to see that on YouTube. It still looks cool at night though. But if I go to sleep here, you can see how cool it looks in the day. And such a difference maker that is, having that up there rather than just the dark cave. And having the day-night cycle in a cave, that's a pretty special thing, I think, and well worth the work of this project. It got cut quite a bit, but I put a lot of work into placing all that glass. But a few more things I want to do before we call it an episode here. One is, there's a couple pillars that are kind of bugging me here. I was planning on keeping the pillars for the most part, and there is some things I like about them, but now there's a couple that are just really blocking the view, this one being the main one. So tower it on up and work my way down. I will stop at this point though, just because it is part of the integrity of holding the path up. But I do like how that opened things up here. And I have this other guy hanging down in front of the stream that I just created, so I wanted to get that one out of the way too. It's been bugging me the whole time. I've been meaning to do that. And yeah, at this point, just do a few more details, one last little round, getting some plants in front of the buildings here, bringing in a little color, as well as spreading some flowers just around the moss that I've been spreading. And even getting a few cherry trees planted, which is a big addition. Getting the pink mixed in, that's definitely a theme for the area down here. And I like getting the floating petals, they're a nice addition. And I took the skulk off the pillar that I dug down here and replaced it with some moss just to make it fit the theme a little better. I'll slowly but surely be getting rid of all the skulk and the... Actually, it's not that bad under the path up there. Actually, it works well as a shadow, but... Yeah, as a whole, I know I've sounded like a broken record, but I just couldn't be happier with this project here. Especially with the sky up there, just bringing it all together, it actually catches my eye more than anything as I'm walking around here. And yeah, if you would have told me a few years ago that I would build anything anywhere near this, I probably wouldn't have believed you. It just feels like such an accomplishment for me, actually, to be honest, in my Minecraft career. By far just the biggest unified project I've ever done anything with, so I'm super happy with it. And the cherry trees were really the cherry on top, I guess you would say. I think the pink just really brings things together and brings things to life. Matches with the ceilings really well, or the roofs, I mean. And yeah, the sky as well just catches my eye more than anything. And yeah, I'll eventually, I was going to actually almost try to get the buildings in up here. I'm going to do the same thing along up there and maybe extend this path a little bit and sneak another building in here. But at this point, I just wanted to get this episode out just because I'm super excited to share this with you guys. So to continue along the lines of adding life to my world, I've really been looking forward to getting some villagers in my Elven Cave here. And when I first got going, I set up this little boardwalk down here as an area that was going to be for free roaming villagers. I've already got houses and beds for all of them. I think I got 8 beds down here. And my smelter here, which I'll set up a bunch of stone masons. My plan for this area is to be predominantly stone masons, just because they're my favorite to trade with, and they got the quartz trade. I figure it makes sense for the area, but I've expanded a lot since I built this little boardwalk, and I'd like them to be able to run all over the place. So I've really got to fill some areas in here, and we're just going to get to work. Little editing magic, and we've already got a little bridge here. Now I can come back and make it a cooler looking bridge. This is almost temporary, but it works for now. But yeah, just going around just like the other cave and making sure there's no places they can get over. I don't want them going into that middle section and getting stuck in a waterfall and drowning or anything like that. So we got them pretty well contained up to this level at least. I'm feeling pretty safe, but we want to use the whole cave, so I gotta work my way up here. Sometimes I like to go with just 2 high blocks, make sure the villagers can't get over. That way I'm not just using fences all the time. And I'll come back and make areas like that look prettier, of course, but yeah, just a whole bunch of making sure they're not going to fall over the edge. And while I was at it, I finally took this door out. I've been meaning to take this out for so long. This village doesn't have doors. That's one of the themes. And while I was at it, I went ahead and started digging up some of the floors I hadn't completed yet just to get them going. And we're putting dirt in the little gazebo building here, which we'll get back to this in a second. But using the warped fungus for the other rooms, I just think they look good, especially without the doors, since you're going to be seeing so much. I like having kind of the same color palette going on, because you're really going to see the interiors from the outside. But yeah, we've got things pretty safe at this point. Getting the villagers to utilize the whole cave is going to be the biggest challenge. I know that going in, and I missed a spot here. I do come up and fix it. I just didn't have fences at the moment. But I was forgetting to do my little zombie hunts at nighttime, so I went out on the first night, and I got really lucky and found one right away. Again, just horrible footage, but I made a little stairway for him to follow me up, and then just had him follow me all the way back home. Got him feeling all better, and it sucks it was only one, because I definitely need to go out and get more, but still nice to get started. But yeah, the gazebo I'm going to turn into my flower gathering area. So this top level, I'm just planting flowers as decoration. And while I was at it, I realized I really hadn't done much for this building yet. So we gave it a nice little detail session here. And I'm going to start spreading the cherry leaves all over the cave more and more over time. I think this just looks really cool. Definitely like getting some details on the gazebo up here. But it was nighttime and I needed more zombies, so I went back out and pretty much went in the direction I found the guy last time, and I think I found a couple of his friends. So this was a fairly easy zombie gathering session, except I had to finagle my way to get them all in their individual boats. Unfortunately, I lost the main clip of me dancing around, but using the chest boat is the trick when you've got to separate zombies when you're carrying them. So and I was feeling pretty good at this point. Definitely could have been much more of a hassle getting those guys. 2 nights of searching, so that's pretty lucky there. But while I was waiting for them to cure themselves up, got back to just putting a couple more details on my gazebo here through the day and spreading some leaves around. I think it's going to be really cool when these kind of take over the cave here. I like mixing the green leaves in with it as well. I think that's always a good mix. And I think it's looking cool. I ran out of cherry leaves. Otherwise I would have done a little more, but we'll do that over time. We did give our villagers just enough time to heal up. I went ahead and let them out of their boats, which I regretted immediately and fenced them back in just to give myself one final walkthrough, making sure things are safe. We do have a couple dark spots, but I'm pretty sure these are safe because it's a deep dark, and hostile mobs shouldn't be spawning there. I had removed all the skulk, but I did have quite a few spots I found that I needed to make sure they weren't going to fall over the edge. But at this point, I was feeling like this whole cave is pretty safe along all these walkways here. So I wanted to spread the villagers around, so I put some beds in these houses down here, but this is just an example of how hard it's going to be to get the villagers to be going all over the place, because getting them to connect to the right beds and stuff can be a challenge. I had given these villagers carrots here, and they should be wanting to breed, but they weren't linking up to those beds over there, so for now I'm just putting some random beds in here, kind of having this be the breeding area, and yeah, you can see they linked up right away. But I knew I was going to have to send some villagers down to the lower area by myself because they weren't going to find their own way, so a couple trips of trapping them in the boat and pushing them over the edge. It was always a project to let them loose and just chase them around the area until they got inside the fence, but eventually they always did. Trap them in, barely. But it did feel good to get some villagers established down here. But that was just the beginning of the process of trying to get the villagers down here to want to work down there and sleep down there and vice versa. You can see we've got villagers up here that want to work down there. So I was having to send a bunch over the edge. Over time we got it working. I might have secretly offed a couple that were down there because moving them up here would have been a lot harder. And slowly but surely we were just getting them to link in their beds down here and be stonemasons working down here. Then I had to do a lot of the same up top. And I thought this was going to be a lot easier than it ended up being. Even the bed right here that's fairly close to my house there, they still don't link to. And even right here with the house right there, I didn't want to link to it. I had to get this close to the house for them to see the bed there. But then once I got that down, I was just doing some experimenting, and if I put that down there now, it's kind of extending out. So I think it's just a matter of extending the village. They still didn't want to link to this one when I put it in, but I do end up finding a workaround here in a second. But we had one last villager up here that wanted to work down there. Got him down, and at this point, we're feeling pretty good. We got all our stonemason jobs filled. We did have this armorer that wanted to be up top, so he mysteriously disappeared. But I regretted this though, because come to find out, I'm pretty sure that was one of the cured zombies. And even worse, I end up keeping an armorer down here anyway. But I did decide to put a stairway between the smelter down at the bottom level up to my main house up top, seeing if the villagers would pathfind, but it is quite the elevation change, and they just don't like to mess with the elevation change. But even for myself, it's going to be nice having just this little stairway so I don't have to take the long way around every time. And yeah, you can see we got one in here already, so maybe it's going to work better than I thought. Then I went out and got a whole bunch of clay. That way I can come back and lock the stonemasons into their jobs so that they don't just switch jobs and want to move up top. And then I realized the way to get the villagers over here is I just trapped them in this little area where all they have is this one house. Then I put the beds and the workstations in there, and when they grow up, they have no choice but to link to the right ones. And we got it looking pretty good down here. Just a couple beds that weren't being used, but I just went ahead and took them out because I figure there's villagers up top linking to the ones down low and vice versa. So I took all the beds out that weren't being used, and when I replaced them, the villagers ended up finding the right beds. Also had to do a little bit of work with some messing with their pathfinding. They always have weird pathfinding, and they just kept wanting to come in on this wall and not get into their bed. So went ahead and just poked the hole so we can go in and out. I'll make it look prettier in the future. But yeah, you can see we got the villagers over here where I was having trouble. Went ahead and took the fence out, and at this point they were linked up to their workstations and beds over there, so should be good. Went ahead and locked them in. At this point, I was feeling pretty good. Now, we don't have them running around the top level yet. Getting the villagers to actually utilize the space is going to be the challenge. I've Gonna have to kind of individually populate each area. And I'm almost scared to put a bell in because I feel like that's just gonna send them all in different directions and get them lost. So I'm probably not gonna do that. But yeah, over time we'll just individually populate each area. We'll still have no barriers, but I don't see them exploring the cave very much. But we'll get the life spread around. We definitely got a good start here. Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and we're back here in my forever world, and we're back in my Elven Cave here, which I think is probably safe to say my favorite build project I've got going on in this world, and we're really going to do a lot today to add to its case. Getting this side of the cave all built up, I've really been looking forward to getting something going on over there. Between episodes, I got a bunch of resources and mending my tools up a little bit, so I'm in pretty good shape coming in, and I will say, this is me talking from the future. I do my episodes and voiceovers, and I just want to say I think ends up being the coolest little build project I've ever done when all is said and done here. So I really look forward to showing you how it all comes together, and how it all comes together I think is one of my favorite parts, because I did not intend for it to become what it became. My goal was to just get some houses built over here, so I started just getting a little staircase up and was going to have this first house going, and just laid this down. Building in the same style as all the other buildings in the area. Realizing this was intended to be the biggest house that I was going to do today. So I realized I was going fairly big. And I took this flight back, and I was really liking it, and then I decided it'd be cool to have a tower coming off it, and just maybe a little angled house coming off of this side. Then I was just going to extend the houses up the mountain and just have a couple houses. So I started by getting the tower on this guy. And I am building into the cliffside, so I'm having to do a lot of rock clearing, but that's not the worst thing in the world. It's nice getting some resources as I go. And I'm just getting the faces of the buildings figured out, and I can dig into the wall later however much I want to. And I thought this ended up really cool. I was kind of meaning for them to be separate buildings, but they ended up looking like one, and I just liked how it looked. So I ended up kind of copying a similar style just up above it. So rather than having a bunch of kind of smaller houses, I ended up just wanting to have two big houses. So I went with the same theme. This one I just put two towers on. And I just kept my head down working, getting the trims put on. Again, just following the same theme as the other buildings in the area with the diorite trim, the kind of the white on white. I think looks really cool. And it was a job. These ended up being a lot bigger builds than I was planning on when I came in today, and we're still just getting started. But I really like getting the towers put in here. It really adds to the vibe, and we didn't have any of these type of buildings in yet, so cool little variation. And nice getting the roofs in nice and early. And yeah, I'd say we got a nice little start on these at this point. And like I said, it ended up being quite a bit bigger than my plan going into it, but I like that these are kind of the two main buildings, and I say two at this point. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I just really like how they look over there, but the thing I didn't like at this point was how this pillar was blocking my way. And I should mention I had a zombie attack on my villagers up in this area, so I had to get them saved, and I'll come back and cure them up here pretty soon. I didn't want to break up the building montage with that, but sadly, we're going to have to get rid of this pillar here, which is also my elevator up to the top. And I'll make another elevator at some point, but getting rid of this one for now, which has been fun. You know, I've seen me make my drop into the cave a couple times, but it is just really blocking the view at this point now that I got this cool stuff built on the other side of the cave. But don't worry, we will run with the theme of the lit up glass here. And I did decide to keep the elevator up to the level of my new build, so I had to put it back together. And like I said, we are going to continue the theme of the natural light lighting up the blue glass. This is the pillar that I discovered. I liked that little concept, so figured we better run with it. So I started covering the stub of the pillar here with glass, and then I decided I was going to replace the whole pillar with glass. So first I had to fill the elevator with glass just to keep the water in. Then I started taking out all the stone and all the deep slate I could get, at least to a point. I left the bottom of the stub, but wanted to just get it all filled with glass, and we still have our hole at the top with natural light coming in. And when I put the little glass panes on it, they're really cool little pops of light. Now it's nighttime right now, so it's really dark, but you'll see what it looks like in the daytime here in just a little bit. But I wanted to do that again, so we went over to this other pillar that was blocking a view, and at this point I decided I'm just gonna slowly but surely replace all the pillars in here with these little light crystals. And I went up to be getting some yellow dye, and I knew that when I dropped down that I had taken my elevator out, and I assumed I was going to be able to just fly, but I forgot that I had built my light crystal up there so high I didn't have enough room to fly. So that was unfortunate, especially since it spawned me back at my spawn area. At least I could grab some stuff to cure my zombies up. But I did have to travel all the way back to my Elven Cave, almost a couple thousand blocks by foot. But I got my stuff back, and then I got going up with the yellow crystal here, which I really like the way the yellow ones end up looking. I think it ends up being my favorite. Let that be a hint that these aren't the last of the crystals, but man, I was really liking how these looked. And now you can see what it looks like in the daytime with the light coming down, and yeah, I think the panes in there are just cool little pops of glass. And I wanted to get a couple more over here. And this is another job that ends up being quite a bit of work, just clearing the pillars out, but again, getting a decent amount of resources, and I'm chipping away at getting rid of the skulk in the Elven area here. That's something I really want to get done. Then I got going on the lime green one here, and as you can see in the daytime, it just really pops. And so does the pink. You can see as I'm building it that in the daytime, the glass just absorbs the natural light in a really cool way. And I'm realizing I haven't got a clip of me going up and getting the hole in the ceiling, but yeah, you gotta have the hole right above the crystal there, all the way to the natural light from the ceiling. That's how you're getting this effect here, in case you hadn't seen my earlier episodes. And that's how we get the sky effect up there as well. Then I got going on just spreading the moss around. I went through a whole bunch of bone meal, just going around my cave and spreading moss, and this will be an ongoing project. I also finally got given this area a little bit of love. Just starting by getting the moss spread out, as well as getting the river figured out. I've really been looking forward to just getting this river winding through here, and it took a little work getting the river shaped up, but I think we got it looking really cool. Especially when we get the moss put in here, and with all these pillars, you might be able to guess what my plan is for this area. I actually put in a pretty good amount of work in over here terraforming and just making the water make sense more than anything. And yeah, the plan is to slowly but surely turn this into a crystal forest. We're going to replace the majority of these pillars with those light crystals. I think it's going to look really cool. And even without the crystals, I think this is really starting to look cool here with the river winding through nice and neatly and just getting the moss spread in. I'm just really liking it. But I was ready to get back working on my buildings here, just getting the basics in, some borders, some doors, windows, trims, and I'm just going to let it play out for a second. And I did put a little bit of work into clearing out the rock behind the buildings to open up the interiors, but I'm not too worried about that today. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with this area yet. I think I'm going to do a big farm of some kind, but I'm still thinking about that. But as you can see, some of these buildings really took some clearing to open up. And I, like I said, did a decent amount of work, actually. And I got back to spreading a bunch of moss around, as well as planting some cherry trees, because that is another thing I'm adding to the theme around here. Trying to not go too crazy with them, though, but I do like how they frame our new buildings up here, and I think these are just looking so cool. And I'm calling them buildings, houses. I didn't know what to call them, but I knew it was starting to look like a castle at this point. So I decided if I just add a big tower right in the middle, which it took some experimenting in a creative copy of the world to figure out how I was going to fit this in and have it look all right. But I ended up pretty happy with what I came up with, so I just put my head back down to work and got it installed fairly quick. And I'm really liking these stained glass windows I got going on, especially now that I got the colorful crystals coming through the area. And oh man, I just think that really brings it together. And like I said, I've accidentally built a castle. I was not planning on doing this today. I was planning on just having some houses up here like the rest of the cave. But now we got such a cool focal point of our Elven Cave down here. I'm just couldn't be more excited with what we got going on here. And then I realized it kind of looks like a mountain behind there. So I wanted to make it a mountain. So I went and got a whole bunch more snow because I was running low on that. And while I was out there, I was hunting some creepers because I am running low on gunpowder. And I got a little cocky. I don't know why I thought I could get the skeleton and this creeper all in one attack. Two pretty bad deaths so far. I say so far. But this one I at least didn't spawn all the way at my spawn area. I was just at my treehouse area, which is fairly close to where I was. So I got some blue ice and I decided I was just going to turn this into a mountain inside the cave. So I started with the snow and just picked what was going to kind of be a snow line. And I just shaped it out. And once I got that figured out, I just rose it up all the way to where I got my glass sky, shaping it like a mountain. And of course you got to get some glaciers in there. And I made the bottom level dirt just to differentiate it from all the stone that we got in the cave. And while I was at it, I got terraforming this waterfall a little bit just to make it a little neater. It's always been kind of bugging me. And got working on this little second peak off to the side, which was kind of awkward to figure out, but man, I really like how it came together. I think it actually looks like a mountain up there inside the cave. I think it's a really cool thing we got going. I just really like the way the snow and ice pop up there. But I wanted to get a little sky backdrop going for it, so I headed back to spawn just because I knew I had a bunch of glass and sand over here and mended my tools while I was at it. But then, yeah, like I said, we got our blue sky all along the ceiling, but I figured there's a few areas back here where I thought it would be cool to go vertical with it and just have the blue sky as the backdrop right behind the mountain. So I just went around and brought it up until it met the horizontal sky we got going. And like I said, keep going up top and poking some holes, making sure that there's nothing blocking it like a leaf, and just go all the way down. And then at daytime it just really pops on the blue glass. The blue glass really picks it up nice, and it spreads it through the glass around it. So I took a whole bunch of trips up and down, mainly because I realized that this whole area could use quite a few more poke holes, and it would make the sky quite a bit brighter during the day down there. So I put in some work going back and forth. Added a few clouds into my vertical portion of it. And this place just keeps getting cooler. It's really getting to a point where you forget you're in a cave from certain angles. I just think it looks so cool. I think the mountain really makes the castle stand out and look bigger than it really is, even though it is fairly big. But I just really like what we got going on here. You might notice a big jump in the days here, and once again I jumped in this world for a stream, which I am enjoying doing, so I'll be doing that every now and then nowadays. And during this stream we got this kelp farm built up, my first kelp farm ever. I did get it working in the end. I know I ended stream without it working correctly, but I got it figured out off camera. And then we also got an axolotl aquarium going. I was going around getting some new animals from my area with chat helping me name things, and I got in a tangent of getting this axolotl aquarium going, which I really like how it turned out. A little darker than I would like, but still looks really cool. But before I went back to the Elven Cave, I did a whole bunch of gathering of some sand because, as you might have noticed, we need a whole lot of glass for what we really want to do for our end goal in the cave here. And it was a project getting it all smelted up, and coal was kind of at a premium at this point. But I got pretty well stocked up: shulker, glass, bunch of flowers for dyes, backup sand and glass. I do end up needing to get more, if that means anything. But yeah, the plan is to, over time, just start replacing a bunch of these pillars with some of these little colorful crystals I got going on here. And for this, I did jump on stream again, but I tried my best to take clips as I went so I could just squeeze it in the episode and kill two birds with one stone. So the main focus of the stream was just getting a bunch more of these crystals in. Poking the holes for the natural light. As expected, the lime green one just looks really cool. And I just kept my head down, getting in these crystals. I didn't do as good of a job of remembering to take clips as I had hoped. Something I will improve at over time, but I got enough to just keep the gist. It was just a long time of placing glass, essentially. I did veer off and have a nice sculpt clearing session, because like I said, I'm really trying to get rid of all this in my Elven area. Even got rid of this big patch of it under my path, which has really been bugging me for a while. I'm glad I finally got under there and got rid of that. I just think it looks a whole lot cleaner. Eventually I'll be coming around and getting some crystals coming off the ceiling as well, which will be cool. But yeah, then I got back to putting in more crystals. I'm trying to not have too many colors, but I couldn't hold myself back from having a purple one. And I realize it's dark here. Again, this is an example of me not getting the best clips as I was streaming, but we'll get a view in the light in the moment here. But then I got going on extending the sky. We got a whole bunch of cave without the blue sky over it. And I still had a decent amount of glass left, so ended the stream by just extending the sky. And we really made some progress. And I've said it before, this sky project is something I really recommend for anyone building in a cave. Having the day-night cycle in a cave, and it just looks really cool. I just think it's a really cool concept. Got some clouds put in, and you can see how much we extended. Everywhere you see torches is new sky that we got put in on the end of stream, so we really ended with a bang. And you can see down here, the left is where we got the natural light coming in, and just how much cooler it looks than when you compare to the right, which is lit up by torches. I don't know how well it will really come through on YouTube, but it definitely just shines a whole different way. And you can see the natural light on the crystals from here. Again, I was still on stream and didn't get a great shot, but we'll get a good walkthrough at the end. Like I said, that wasn't all the sand and glass I used. While I was out getting a bunch more, I was just getting way too comfortable and letting the phantoms attack me, and I realized I was stuck in the middle of nowhere with nowhere to escape. 3 deaths in 1 episode. I'm embarrassed. Spawned me back at spawn. I had to go all the way back out. Wasn't too far, I guess, but at least we're getting my stuff back every time. But I still needed to get a whole bunch of sand. Almost 2 shulkers worth again. And had to get it all smelted up, manually loading these hoppers because the cart doesn't have enough space for all the glass I needed. So I just kept on placing, and yeah, I was off the stream at this point, but I did decide to finish my whole sky. So much glass placing. The kind of project I never used to do, but I'm finding myself enjoying more and more all the time. Just these big kind of grindy projects, which I guess is probably because I'm on day 3400 in my world. I've never been there before. Yeah, it's got adding in a whole bunch of clouds, and you can see the clouds that have the natural light above compared to the ones like this that don't. how big of a difference it makes. And I went up and down more times than I would like to say. But we got lots of natural light brought in, so our sky is ready to roll at this point. I still could do some work, get some clouds embedded in the blue and some even on the bottom. I like to kind of get the 3D effect on the clouds, but I'm super happy with the progress we got today. I was not planning on getting this whole sky installed. This whole episode ended up just being so much more than I envisioned when I started. And I just can't say enough how happy I am with how it all has come together. Definitely my favorite place in my world. I'll say oftentimes that things are one of my favorite builds, but this is my favorite build. And especially now, and the sky is just so epic, extended all the way back there. Our lit up crystals in the daytime you can really see now. And our mountain, just everything about the way this whole episode came together. I was planning on this all being houses. So this was one of the most fun episodes I've made, to be honest with you. And I'm just really liking the ideas of where this can go from here, getting the crystals all extended through. Like I said, I think I plan on putting a big farm in this castle of some kind. I haven't figured out what I want to do yet, but yeah, these crystals I think is just a really cool concept, and I was really looking forward to expanding on the forest back here, and we'll do something else with the forest as well, but just the crystals as a theme I think is just going to be super cool. And our castle here just really brings the whole area to the next level. I'm really glad it ended up going this route rather than just being houses like all the other buildings we got. Obviously, lots of work to go clearing this out for a big farm at some point, but man, I know I sound like a broken record with how excited I am about this place, but I just really am. Especially, we still got lots of work to go on this side, getting some crystals coming off the ceiling. Now, that's going to be an annoying job. Might wait a little while on doing that, but overall, I just couldn't be happier with this cave. So if you like what I got going, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and YouTube might show you more of my videos. And I would greatly appreciate it. But as always, I really do appreciate you all for coming. And have a good day.